Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Gizmo's Great Escape. Gizmo hummed a happy tune in his cozy cage. The Mogwai was the greatest curiosity in Mr. Wing's Chinatown Curiosity Shop. There, Gizmo could get out of his unlocked cage whenever he liked. Old Mr. Wing coughed as he played chess with himself. He paused and hissed, "Strangers are coming." Gizmo knew he would have to hide. He peeked through his cage as four grim-looking men in business suits climbed out of a big black limousine. They carried a television set and a VCR into Mr. Wing's store. Gizmo wondered what they were doing. "Mr. Wing, Daniel Clamp would like to speak to you," said Foster, the sour-faced leader. While the other men set up the TV and the VCR, the TV screen flashed to life with a videotape of the real estate tycoon Daniel Clamp. Mr. Clamp had already bought all the other buildings on Mr. Wing's block, and he was determined to buy Mr. Wing's building too. Mr. Clamp made a very pushy speech, offering Mr. Wing lots of money. He wanted to tear down the shop to build the Clamp Chinatown Center, a huge modern office complex. "To people can always agree," Clamp's image insisted. Mr. Wing said, "I'm sorry, please tell Mr. Clamp the answer is no. Keep the TV," said Foster. Leaving with his men, Mr. Wing coughed again. "TV," Gizmo exclaimed. He wondered why Mr. Wing wasn't happy about the wonderful present, television. Mr. Wing exclaimed, switching off the set, "An invention for fools." He coughed again. Gizmo knew his old friend was wondered about something else, and he felt sad because Mr. Wing was very ill. Mr. Wing's death removes the last obstacle. The developer Daniel Clamp's Chinatown project, a TV reporter announced a few days later. Gizmo was lonely, sitting in his cage, a black armband around one fuzzy arm. He missed Mr. Wing very much. Gizmo switched off the TV and sang a sad song. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. A bulldozer smashed the front of Mr. Wing's store. A terrified Gizmo jumped out of his cage. He scrambled into the side alley as the store collapsed in a heap of plaster and wood. Gizmo looked back at the wreckage. He had escaped just in time. Panting, Gizmo ran through the dirty alley. He felt all alone in the world, without friends or a home. But before he could catch his breath, Gizmo was grabbed by two human hands. Gizmo was taken to a laboratory full of unhappy animals and strange gadgets. Big men in white coats were peering down at Gizmo through the bars of his cage. "Say, Dr. Catheter, look at this," said a scientist named Lewis. "Some sort of rodent, apparently Martin." Another scientist observed. "It can't take bright light," Lewis added. "Watch this," said Martin, switching on some music and opening Gizmo's cage. The Mogwai dance to the bouncy beat. HMPH. "Cute, isn't he?" Dr. Catheter said grumpily. Gizmo danced as the men talked. Each hop took him farther from his cage, and Gizmo hoped to slip away. But Dr. Catheter grabbed Gizmo and stuffed him back into his cage. "What's wrong with you two?" he asked Lewis and Martin. He almost escaped. "How are you proceeding with this assignment?" Lewis said. "Sell samples tomorrow, ... double quotes. Tissue cultures Thursday," Martin finished. "And then body structure," Catheter said, poking the frightened Mogwai. Gizmo sang suddenly in his cage. He wished there were some way for him to escape. Just then a messenger delivered a package to Dr. Catheter. "This is rabies," Catheter complained. "I was supposed to get the flu this week." Gizmo wished they would all get the flu and leave him alone. The messenger left, whistling Gizmo's tune. In the same building, Gizmo's friend, Billy Peltier, was talking to his girlfriend, Kate. On the video phone, they both missed the good old days in Kingston Falls before the gremlin attack. Billy felt out of place in the super-modern Clamp Center where he and Kate now worked. Just then the lights went out and came back on again, and the phone went dead. Nothing was working properly in the building. In the sudden silence, Billy heard Gizmo's song. Billy turned and saw the messenger, who had been at the lab. "Where did you hear that song?" Billy asked him excitedly. The messenger thought for a minute, then remembered. Somebody was humming it in the Spliso Life Lab on the 18th floor. Billy knew right away who had been humming Gizmo. He thought of his poor little friend in the genetics lab and realized he had to rescue him by pretending to be a repairman. Billy managed to get into the laboratory. While he fiddled with one of the machines, Billy whistled Gizmo's song. The lab was a scary-looking place filled with weird scientists performing strange experiments. Billy listened carefully for an answer to his song. He hoped he wasn't too late. A moment later, Billy heard Gizmo's reply. He followed the sound of Gizmo's voice, past the busy scientists and cages of chattering monkeys. When Billy finally found Gizmo's cage, he was so relieved. He had to get his friend out of there right away. Billy strolled back to the machine he had pretended to be fixing. On the way, he unlatched the monkeys' cages. The mischievous monkeys rushed out and started wrecking the lab. The frantic scientists had their hands full trying to recapture the animals. Billy's plan worked. In all the confusion, the scientists didn't see Billy unlock Gizmo's cage and scoop the mogwai into his big red toolbox. Billy's heart was pounding as he slipped out of the lab, leaving the broken machine in pieces. He tried to look cool, even though he expected to get caught at any moment. Once outside the lab, Billy took Gizmo out of the toolbox. "Hey, guy, did you miss me?" Billy asked, happy that his little friend was safe and sound. Gizmo hugged Billy. He was free and reunited with his friend. No matter what happened, they would be together. The end.